everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. Today we are in a different location because we are in Beach House Nutrition. If you don't know what Beach House Nutrition is, I will leave all the information below, but it is my sister's business and we are here to decorate it for Christmas. So we are doing affordable nautical decor using, of course, Dollar Tree items, right? So I really hope that you enjoyed this video and you enjoy these ideas and you stick around by subscribing to this channel. Once you hit that subscribe button, we instantly become best friends, right? And please go ahead and hit that notification bell so you know every time I post a video. Make sure that you check the link in my description so you can check out my sister on Instagram and check out all of our decor. And let's go ahead and get started.
I'm going to start off with the easiest, which are the clams, and I'm going to use a pack of seashells from Dollar Tree. They sell different kinds, so I got the white ones since they're flat edges. And with one pack, you can make about 8 or 10 of these. So I'm finding the ones that are the same size, and then I'm adding a strip of glue, gluing them together, and then securing them from the back. So these two fit together. I'm adding a little bit of glue, holding it in place, and then flipping it over and adding a little bit of glue to the back. You can also secure this with some E6000, but you do want an instant hold so it stays in that position. Once everything is dry, I'm going to use a paint ballet slipper, I believe. I'm sorry it didn't show up on camera, but this is a Waverly chalk paint, which is why you see that it is a little thicker than most paints. Originally, I was going to add a little bit of clay to make this look a little bit more realistic and give it some texture, but that would have made this a little heavy, so just the pink chalk paint does the trick. I think this looks so cute. So I did this to all of them on both seashells, and then I found these beautiful pearls at Dollar Tree. This is in the picture frame aisle or in the craft aisle, depending on your store. And I'm just going to place one in the middle using a dab of hot glue and just pressing it in there. If you have a hand drill, you can go ahead and pierce a little hole in the seashells, but I really didn't think that that was necessary. I just glued a little bit and then cut off the excess string, and this was actually perfect and it was nice and upright. And when I was done, I had these really cool and affordable ornaments. I think this looks so beautiful. For my next one, which is my next easy one, I'm going to use this foam from Dollar Tree and these other seashells from Dollar Tree as well. Like I said, this is all in the picture frame and craft aisle, and I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. So I'm going to add a generous amount of glue, and before I add a seashell, I want to make sure that it fits. I sized them out and put the larger ones at the bottom, and as I got to the top, I did use smaller ones. So when I get to my second row, instead of putting one directly on top, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in between two seashells and then add my next one. This is going to give it that cute little like scalloped effect. If you do just one on top of the other, there's going to be a lot of gaps. So make sure that you're going in between seashells. And if you want to push it in just to make sure that it's nice and secure, go ahead and do that. So as you can see, I'm measuring out to see what seashell looks good in what area, and then I'm working my way all the way up, making sure that I like the color combination because these all are in different colors. And when I am done, I'm going to go ahead and take those same pearls from Dollar Tree and just put them in the little gaps. They do have them in a smaller size as well, but the smaller size ones I had were no longer in the pack, so I didn't want to show them on camera. So now that I have this, I wanted a base for this, and I found this at Dollar Tree. You can put it as is, or you can go ahead and add some gems or sand to the bottom. You can even add some colorful tissue paper or tint it using Mod Podge and food coloring. So I just did the gems so that it's nice and heavy and doesn't topple over, added a nice amount of hot glue, and then positioned it in place. I eventually did put pearls in the bottom to cover it up. For the topper, I used this grow toy, which I found in the toy aisle of Dollar Tree. Now, I went ahead and painted it using Agave Waverly chalk paint, and I just dabbed that on there and made sure I let it dry really well. I am also going to show you how I handmade some starfish ornaments, but for this, I wanted to use the grow toy. So I added a generous amount of glue to the top, and this is squishy, so I just added the glue just so it can kind of hold it in place. But to really secure it, I used a little toothpick and I pierced it up top. This is going to help it stand upright, and if you want, you can always paint the toothpick the same color as a starfish. When I was done, I think I had a really unique and cool looking tree. For the next one, I'm going to use these wood signs from Dollar Tree. Now these are nice and sturdy, but if you can't find them, you can always just use 97-cent wood from Lowe's or Home Depot or one of the other signs and just remove all of the sayings. Now I'm not going to remove the sayings on these, I'm just going to use the backside since it's a nice solid color. And I'm going to glue this together. Usually I always use a combination of E6000 and hot glue, but hot glue on this really did the trick. So I really didn't feel the need to bust out my E6000. So I made sure it was nice and straight, and then I used these wood letters from Dollar Tree and made sure that I spaced them out before securing them in place. Now for this, I did use 3 packs of these. The letters that they had before, which were the Jot brand, I think, did bring a lot more to a pack. So for this, I did need 3 packs because they only brought 1 of each letter. And I'm making sure that I am trying to keep them as straight as possible as I'm securing them in place. Now the sign looks pretty plain as is, so I am going to add some starfish to the side. Now these are starfish that I made, and that's going to be our next craft. I just went ahead and added a generous amount of glue, and then I positioned them where I wanted. I also went ahead and added some of the seashells that I had left over from my little tree. And then in the craft aisle, they had these little tiny seashell jars from Dollar Tree as well. So I grabbed a few of those and just placed them around just to make this look a little bit more interesting so it doesn't look like I just slapped 2 signs together, and I glued them into place. So as is, I think it looks really good. Of course, you can paint the letters whatever color you want, but I really loved the natural color. Everything kind of just looked like sand. So now you can either keep the sign as is, or you can add some rope to it, which is what I did. So I found this rope at Dollar Tree, and this is going to be in the floral aisle or the craft aisle. And what I did was I tied one end into a knot, and then I cut off the excess rope. And as soon as I cut, I added really hot glue to the part where the knot ends, and then placed it right on my sign. You want to do this as soon as it's hot so it holds. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Create a knot, cut it down, and then secure it in place using hot glue. So now you can either display this on your mantle or hang it up on your wall, and I think it looks gorgeous. For my starfish, I'm going to use some Dollar Tree flour and Dollar Tree salt, but wherever you can get it cheapest is fine. Sometimes Dollar Tree does have the big pack, and I'm also going to use a giant bowl. So in that bowl, I'm going to add 2 cups of flour and 2 cups of salt. By the way, I still have left over to make so many more ornaments. I'm going to make sure that I combine it really well. And once it is nice and combined, I'm going to take some warm water and just start adding it in until I create a dough-like consistency. I don't have a real measurement for the water because I always just eyeball it. But if I had to say, it would probably be anywhere from half a cup to maybe 3/4 of a cup. It's all up to you and what you feel comfortable with. You just want to make sure that it's not sticky. So if you do have too much water, just go ahead and add more of the flour and more of the salt. I usually just add more of the flour until it stops sticking. So I'm just playing around with the consistency here. And if you've ever made anything out of dough, then you know exactly the consistency that you're going for. You don't want it to stick to your fingers. You want it to almost feel dry. So once I have my big old ball together, I'm just going to roll some pieces out, and you don't have to use a rolling pin. I was trying to be fancy here, so I just rolled it out to try and get a nice even little circle, and then I cut out the circle. This is the only thing that I had, which is a Dollar Tree bell, and it worked perfectly. So I added some more flour to the top so it didn't stick, and then I started to kind of cut out the shape of a star using a butter knife. You don't want a serrated knife, you want something nice and flat. You can even use a credit card, but I always use a butter knife for this. And now I'm going to start shaping it with the edge of my knife and my fingers to get a nice straight edge, and I'm going to start moving it around. Now I'm using a cookie thing for this. You can use some aluminum foil or whatever you want. I would suggest aluminum foil so you don't have to move the starfish around, and just make sure that you add some flour to the bottom of it so it doesn't stick. So now I'm going to grab a bobby pin and I'm going to make a hole that actually pierces through on top on the thickest part of my starfish, and then I'm going to start to just make little indentations all over so it looks realistic. And to me this kind of looks like a cute little cracker. So I'm going to do this until all of my dough is gone, but if you don't want to make a ton, you can always just store your dough in a Ziploc bag where it doesn't get any air at all, and you can always reuse it. I just wanted to show you, I made 3 of these starfish so far and I have a ton of my dough left over. So I had this mold. This one is not Dollar Tree, but you can get a mold anywhere super cheap, and you can even use a Dollar Tree toy to create this. But I just pressed in my salt dough, flattened it out nice and even. Then I just popped the seahorse out of the mold. I will try and link this. I don't remember where I bought this mold, but Dollar Tree does have a seahorse beach toy in the toy aisle, which you can use as well. So now I'm just going to remove the extra using my butter knife. And like I said, this one isn't Dollar Tree, but you can create the same effect using anything. I just wanted to show you that it was totally possible to use a mold using the salt dough mixture. So I'm just adding some of the details back in, creating a little hole to pierce it, and I'm placing it on my pan. And I still have a ton of my salt dough left over. I was able to make 32 starfish and 3 seahorse, and I still had enough flour and salt to make more. You are going to bake these for 4 hours at 240 degrees, which is why you see that they're stiffer now. And now that they're out of the oven, I'm going to take a nail file and I'm just going to kind of clean up those edges. I like using a butter knife because it creates those nice clean edges. But if you don't have a butter knife, this is the best way to make it look a little bit neater and get rid of any lumps. This nail file isn't the best, but as you can see, it is doing the trick. There is not much to clean up because I already did. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start painting them. You can keep them the natural color, but I just took some white acrylic paint and started dry brushing. If you add too much paint to this, you're going to lose all of those details. So dry brushing is definitely the way to go. You also might want to skip spray painting unless you have a really, really light hand. So I also just went ahead and took this peach color. You can do whatever combination you want, but I just kind of wanted to make it a little natural looking, but also have a pop of color. So I did this to some, and then I kept other ones the natural color of the dough. So once everything was painted and dry, I went ahead and grabbed the pearls that I got at Dollar Tree, and I added pearls to all of them. You can also add seashells or whatever you have, and just make sure that you add your string or twine to the top. So when I was done, I had these really cool and affordable ornaments that were about $3 for the whole batch. Moving on to the tree topper, I'm going to use this foam, which I found in the floral aisle of Dollar Tree, and this screwdriver set, which I found in the tool section of Dollar Tree. Now these bring 8, but 2 of them I'm not going to use, so I actually bought 2 packs. So I actually pre-made my holes, and I'm going to add 1 screwdriver to one side, and then I'm going to go to the opposite and add another one. Now, this would probably be a lot more accurate if I actually measured it out and tried to get it as straight as possible, but I eyeballed everything. And to secure this in place, I did add hot glue to the end of the handles. And honestly, this is probably my favorite craft. So now I'm going to move on and continue to add 1 screwdriver to one side, and then going on the opposite side and adding another one. So all of these screwdrivers are different sizes, but I am just going to avoid using the teeny tiny ones, and you'll see why in just a second. So as soon as I add them, I'm going to secure them and then move on. Now you do want to make sure that they meet in the middle. Even though they're not touching, you want to make sure they're at least look like they're facing each other so that when you do add your middle piece, it looks cohesive. So now I did skip one because I thought that this is where I was going to add my little tree topper part to hold on the tree. I'm going to use this Dollar Tree star, and basically what I'm going to do is cut it down so that I can pierce it into the foam. So I did use some tin snips for this, but if you can get the metal piece off without cutting, that would be great. So now I'm just going to pierce it in, and I did end up changing the position of this because I ended up adding one more screwdriver. But before you move on, make sure that you cut off any excess piece so that this doesn't become a hazard. So like I said, I am going to cover this up, and for this I used a little round piece of wood. You can get this anywhere. They come in multi-packs at Walmart, Michael's, and someone did comment that Dollar Tree does have little chalk ones now. So I'm going to cover the back and the front, and like I said, I did move this over and add one more screwdriver, and then I'm going to go ahead and paint this with some white acrylic paint. Normally for a project like this, I would spray paint, but because this is floral foam, I was really scared that the spray paint would melt this. Usually spray paint does melt foam, unless it's a metallic. For some reason, the metallic ones don't melt down. So I just decided to be safe and use craft paint, and I did do 3 different coats, but you can do as many or as little as you want. And once everything was nice and covered and dry, to give it a more finished look, I used some of my Dollar Tree twine and started wrapping it around the openings just to make this look a little bit more realistic and to cover up some of the imperfections. So I just wrapped it around and secured it in place using hot glue. And then with the same brush that I had with dry paint, I just kind of brushed that on the twine so it blended in. To cover up that line in the foam, I added some of my leftover seashells as well as one of my leftover handmade starfish. And when I was done, I think I had one of the coolest and most unique tree toppers. And I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Be sure to check out my sister's Instagram, Beach House Nutrition. And if you're in the Lyndhurst area, I'll leave her address below. But I think that the transformation is amazing. Let me know in the comments what is your favorite, and as usual, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you so much, and I will hopefully see you on the next one.